In the future, thousands of humans left Earth and built a new civilization on a planet called Titanium. Although surrounded by dangerous swamps, the land on the planet Titanium was still declared a habitable place for humans. On the other hand, the human government also created a sophisticated computer system to maintain security and order. After that, we are shown a group of prisoners with various backgrounds who are sentenced to life exile. One of these prisoners is named Christy, who has always hated her life on Titanium. There is also another prisoner named Borg, who is known as a powerful criminal. According to the rules of the law of exile, the group of prisoners is required to leave the human city and live in a legendary place called Happiness Island. But the problem is, the group of prisoners must pass through swamps full of dangerous creatures to be able to reach Happiness Island. At the beginning of their departure, the group of inmates had a fight over survival equipment, which was previously given by the army. By utilizing his background as a powerful criminal, Borg managed to reduce this conflict and divided the equipment equally among the inmates. After ending this conflict, Borg established himself as the leader of the group. Meanwhile, inmate Christy believed that Borg would be a cruel leader and dare to sacrifice the lives of his men. Because of this, Christy finally separated herself from Borg and started a journey with a scientist named Irvin. It didn't take long for Christy and Irvin to enter a swampy area full of dangerous creatures. Irvin claimed that he had extensive knowledge of the swamp, so that it could increase Irvin's chances of survival. Although Christy didn't fully believe Irvin's claims, Christy felt safe with Irvin because Irvin was a good and reliable person. After that, Irvin saw a dangerous swamp creature that was about to attack Christy. With his courage, Irvin managed to kill this snake-like creature and save Christy's life. When the situation became safe, Irvin realized that he had suffered an attack wound while trying to kill the snake-like creature. Fortunately, Irvin's attack wound was not too severe, so he could still move well. Then Irvin turned the snake carcass into a whip-shaped weapon with electricity. With this weapon, Irvin managed to scare the Borg, so that the Borg finally did not dare to seize the toolbox carried by Irvin and Christy. Now Christy and Irvin continued their journey, while staying away from the Borg group to avoid trouble. Not long after, Christy and Irvin saw the Borg group being attacked by a giant root-like creature, nicknamed the Flame Tongue. Because of his extensive knowledge, Irvin knew that the Flame Tongue was very sensitive to movement, so the way to repel the Flame Tongue was not to make any movements. But Irvin deliberately did not share this knowledge with the Borg group, because they were already quite far away. The Borg group finally managed to survive the Flame Tongue attack after one of the Borg's men told them how to repel the Flame Tongue. After that, Christy and Irvin rested in a swamp area that was not inhabited by dangerous creatures. In this moment of rest, Christy and Irvin told each other about their past. Not long after Christy and Irvin rested, suddenly a horde of swamp creatures came to attack them. In this dangerous situation, Irvin ordered Christy to hide in their toolbox. Because of Irvin's ingenuity, the horde of swamp creatures finally stopped attacking and left Christy and Irvin. Realizing that the situation was getting safe, Christy and Irvin continued their journey. Then, in the midst of a moment of rest, Irvin recounted his past, which surprised Christy. So, before becoming a prisoner, Irvin turned out to be a presidential advisor, Irvin was finally sentenced to life exile for trying to leak state secrets. Irvin revealed that before serving this sentence, he actually had time to insert a virus into the computer system that had been the center of government. Because only Irvin knew the code to eliminate this virus, Irvin believed that sooner or later the government would pick him up because they really needed Irvin's abilities. At the same time, Irvin's virus begins to disrupt the government's computer system. On the president's orders, the army finally begins an operation to capture Irvin alive so that they can order Irvin to remove the virus. Meanwhile, Borg's entourage finally learns of Irvin's identity as a former presidential advisor. Armed with information from his friend, Borg now plans to capture Irvin and hand him over to the army so that he can be rewarded with an acquittal. As time goes by, Christie begins to feel that this exile sentence is the same as the death penalty. The reason is, before being able to reach the Island of Happiness, the prisoners must face various terrible swamp creatures that can kill them at any time. Seeing Christie's anxiety, Irvin finally opened up about the origin of this exile law. It turns out that this exile sentence came from Irvin's proposal when he served as a presidential advisor. Once knowing this secret, Christie immediately berated Irvin because he had initiated an inhumane punishment. While Christie was still angry with Irvin, the Borg group that had been following Irvin finally arrived. With his power, the Borg finally managed to subdue Irvin and was ready to hand him over to the army in an old prison. Then, before being taken by the Borg, Irvin had advised Christie to keep following him because Irvin had planned something to solve this mess. Sometime later, Borg finally made it to the old prison while carrying Irvin. After making sure Irvin wouldn't be able to escape, Borg went to find a soldier named Matthias who was waiting at the old prison to arrest Irvin. But before Borg and Matthias arrived, Irvin had already managed to escape. Now Borg feels that he will be killed by Matthias because he is considered to have lied. In order to save his life, Borg finally uses his firearm to shoot Matthias, but because Borg's gun has no ammunition, he is finally shot back by Matthias until he is critically injured. Not long after, Irvin finally surrendered himself because Matthias had taken Christie hostage, who was already in the old prison. Then when Irvin was walking towards Matthias, Borg suddenly appeared and stabbed Matthias from behind until Matthias finally died. Before breathing his last, Borg told Irvin that he felt freedom when he managed to save Irvin. Then Christie and Irvin continued their journey to the Island of Happiness. In order to get through the waters, Christie and Irvin were forced to use a small floating island piece as a means of transportation. Day after day continued, while Christie and Irvin were drifting in the middle of the ocean. They suddenly faced a fighter plane that wanted to kill Irvin because Irvin was no longer needed. Well, because this fighter plane is connected to a computer system that is infected with a virus, this fighter plane cannot be used to attack Irvin. Unfortunately, before escaping the attack of the fighter plane, Christie and Irvin fell into a waterfall. Fortunately, the current of this waterfall brought Christie and Irvin to the Island of Happiness. Upon arriving at the Island of Happiness, Christie and Irvin were surprised to see the condition of the island, which turned out to be barren and very different from its name. Then, while observing the Island of Happiness, Irvin suddenly remembered the knowledge he had gained during his time as a presidential advisor. With this knowledge, Irvin finally found a hidden location that stored the evacuation plane. When just entering the location, Irvin and Christy were very happy to see that the evacuation plane was still in good condition. Using the evacuation plane, Irvin and Christy finally managed to escape from the planet Titanium safely and are ready to start a new life. So that's the whole storyline of the movie, The Calculator, released in 2014. Hopefully you understand the storyline, and see you later.